Hari Om. Let us chant the last 10 verses of chapter 5, starting from verse 20. Na prahrishyeet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhira sammudaha, brahmavid brahmani stitaha. बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा विन्दत्यात्मनि यत्सुखम् स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखमक्षयमश्नुते ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगाः दुःखयोनय ते आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः शक्नोति हैव ह्यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम् स युक्तः स सुखी नरः योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरारामः तथान्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः सर्वभूतहिते रताः कामक्रोधवियुक्तानां यतीनां यतचेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् वर्तते विदितात्मनाम् स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यां चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः यः सदा मुक्त एव सः भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति।
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We read verses 27 and 28 together once.
स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यां चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः यः सदा मुक्त एव सः।
shutting out external contacts and fixing the gaze as though between the eyebrows, equalizing the flow of incoming and outgoing breaths in the nostrils, having the senses, mind, and intellect controlled, with liberation as the goal, the sage, free from desire, anger, and fear, is verily liberated forever. We study these two verses together because it's the same. The flow continues into the next verse. So we study these verses together. He's talking about the procedural details for meditation very briefly. And he's setting the platform to go into the next chapter, Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. So a brief procedural details about meditation is given. Meaning, from a bhogi, a person has turned into a yogi by doing the yogas properly and Shravana Manana properly. He reached a stage of sannyasi. Now the sannyasi is meditating and getting to the state of self-realization. This is the sequence we are seeing from chapter 3 onwards, which is going to culminate in chapter 6. So from a bhogi to a yogi to a sannyasi to a jnani. Jnani in this context meaning a self-realized person. The procedural details for meditation, meaning that these verses are not talking about a self-realized person, a person who has come to the last stages of spiritual practice, which is meditation. What is meditation? Keeping the mind focused, the intellect keeps the mind focused on a single chant and no other thoughts come and disturb. This is called meditation. Again, I repeat, what is meditation? Meditation is intellect keeping the mind focused on a chosen thought. Technically, it's called mantra. The intellect keeping the mind focused on the mantra to the exclusion of all other thoughts is called meditation. Mind and intellect alone is defined in this definition of meditation. He says it cannot be restricted only to the mind and intellect alone for meditation. You have to keep the external sense objects outside. The sense objects are also kept outside and fixing the sight between the two eyebrows, as it were, as though between the eyebrows. When we go into the details, we'll see what are all the various implied meanings of fixing the eyebrows between the fixing the gaze between the two eyebrows. All that we'll see later. Now we'll understand what is meditation broadly speaking. So broadly speaking, meditation involves shutting out the external senses, the eyes fixed between the two eyebrows, the pranas even outgoing. He's talking about all this. Pranas even with all this preparation. What is the preparation? Sense objects are out, the eyes, the gaze is fixed between the two eyebrows, the pranas are maintained evenly, then the mantra starts, then the chant starts. The mind does the chanting and intellect monitors the chant. This procedure, this practice is called meditation. Now, what is the purpose of meditation? Having defined what meditation is, now we see what is the purpose of meditation. One purpose of meditation is health benefit, stress relief. People do that now. If you are worried, anxiety, tensed, the suggestion given is do meditation, do meditation, do meditation. And everybody sits with the sense objects are all around, the pranas are not even, the eyebrows are not fixed anywhere, there is no mind of flowing the chant, there is no intellect monitoring the chant. None of these conditions are fulfilled, and yet people do meditation. It's more like a mockery of meditation, but not real meditation. So the purpose of meditation in the world that is misunderstood is a health benefit, a stress relief. Krishna's vision, Vedantic vision of meditation is not a health benefit, is not a stress relief. It is the purified mind, carefully follow, the purified, detached mind sitting in single pointed concentration for realizing the self is called meditation. This is the purpose of meditation from Vedantic point of view. Meditation is not for stress relief. Meditation is not to get a mystical experience of God. Why I'm talking about all this is people misunderstand all this as meditation. In meditation, I experienced something for 20 minutes, and then I came out of, and then I came out of it. The 20 minutes of your experience is hallucination, not meditation. For people misunderstand the purpose of meditation to be a mystical experience, stress relief. Vedanta says all this is not the purpose of meditation. That which has a specific position in the spiritual path, you cannot pluck it out of that position and practice in the earlier stages. It's sequential. It has a particular, in the sequence, it has a place. You have to evolve to come to that place. You can't take that from that place and start doing it where you are now. It is exactly like Vivekananda saying, you can lift yourself up or you can bring it down. He says, all human beings falls under two categories, he said. One category, lift themselves up for the sake of the goal, the ideal. The vast majority brings the ideal down. They don't lift themselves up, but they bring the ideal down. And when they bring the ideal down, it is of no use. First, I will attain self-realization, sir. Then I will handle all my emotional problems and all that. Teach me later. It doesn't work like that. The emotional maturity is that which takes you to the level of sannyasa. And from the level of sannyasa, you reach to the level of jnani. And between sannyasa and jnani, there is this thing called meditation. This is what the meditation is. And also, if you have observed, throughout the Shastras, we keep talking about Shravana, Manana, Karma Yoga, Sannyasa. We will never talk about meditation. And especially if you go to the highest literature, Upanishads, you will never find a mention of anything about meditation at all there. It will be only Shravana, Manana, Karma Yoga, Sannyasa, that maturity. Having come to that height, the person automatically turns meditative. So what Krishna is doing here, he is hoping that in this Janma itself, we all are going to become meditative. In the hope that we are all going to become meditative in this Janma itself, he is giving the procedural details for meditation also. Now, this is the brief background about meditation. With this background, we'll go into the verses now. Now, we are going into the verses. The first thing is Bhahyan Sparshan Bahi Krutva, shutting out external contacts. Shutting out external contacts. Shutting out external contacts means what? Taking the mind out of all worldly thoughts. Shutting out external contacts means through what you contact the world. Through the senses you contact the world, and the senses themselves cannot contact the world. The thought that has to back the senses to contact. Therefore, shutting out external contact means shutting out the mind of all worldly thoughts. For example, you can be looking at the screen and I'll be appearing so big in the screen, no? Speaker will put el naka. That's why I don't look, because when I look at the screen, I'm appearing so big. Now, the presence is so much, the sound, the sight, the eyes are focused on the screen, the ears are attuned to what I'm going to say, but then 20 minutes of lecture is gone. Mind goes elsewhere, and 20 minutes of the lectures is gone, and then suddenly 20 minutes later you realize that, oh my God, somebody is sitting in front and talking, and I also chose to sit and listen. 20 minutes you miss it, and the mind can make a perfect connection between what you heard then and what you are hearing now. You will never have a doubt. Continuously ketale doubt varudhu. Adum we have lapses of and even then we don't have any doubts at all. So what is the first thing? Shutting out external contacts. Why he talks about shutting out external contacts is because the external contacts triggers. The external contacts triggers. What does it trigger? It triggers a flow of thought. It triggers a flow of thought. So, by temporarily shutting out the external contact, you are preventing the flow of thought. What you should understand is, a person at the advanced stage of sannyasi, by default, he is not contacting the external world. By default, he is doing all this. It is so easy for him to do. We are using this and trying to understand what we can learn from this as a practice, as where we are now. We are trying to interpret it from that angle. To a sannyasi at this stage, it's very effortless for him. He doesn't have this problem at all. So first is shutting out external contacts, because external contacts trigger. After a while, what happens? They may not be an external contact, but the mind itself will go. For a sannyasi, that will not happen. The mind itself will not go. Just as I said, there is no external contact here other than me talking, other than the screen. Yeah. But then computer means what? Even yesterday, I was talking to the couple of kids. I said, see, what happens when you are sitting in front of a machine? Machine means you can do 4 things at the same time. Yeah. 4 windows you can open. No, that's the 4 windows you can open. You can drink coffee. You can clip nails and still listen to the nails a clip on it. You can listen. Yeah. You can walk around the house and sit and listen. Concentration is not the very device itself is so. The very device itself is so much used for so many things. By default, what you would do? Concentration is lost. As it is, the concentration is very less. And every 3 months, every 6 months, and this has been my experience for the last 20 years, people give advice as to how we should take the knowledge forward. They will come and say, we should do this, sir, we should do that. I also keep saying, yes, we'll try. And after a while, they will lose interest, and they go back to, after a while, they lose interest and they go to something else. Not just with 1 or 2 persons, it is the across the board. This is it. And they tell me, sir, attention span is very less nowadays. We have to make videos. And I said, okay, videos. No, sir, it has to be 5 minutes, 7 minutes, short videos. He said, 3 nimishan dance adida, you can attract you can attract the attention in 3 minutes only by dancing. And I cannot dance. Attention span, because the device itself gives you so much of distraction. Conversely, when a person is sitting and talking in front of you, even though you feel like getting up and going, out of sheer respect, you will not go, no? Yeah. When the person is sitting and talking in front, they asked me, sir, when things and all become all right, this seems to be a better platform. No, sir. People everywhere are listening. Recording is happening. Sometimes when I hear that 300, 400 people are viewing the lectures, I get a shock as to thinking, why so many people are even? I say, why are they even seeing it so much? You're able to follow? It is so, the concentration is so distracted. Shutting out the external contacts becomes a very important thing, to shut out the external contact. In the beginning stages, I requested and say, at least keep the videos on. From Bata, nobody is listening. So what I did, speaker view put it. Speaker view means I am seeing myself. And people are saying, sir, Zoom classes are very good, sir. Because I am talking only to myself. No, I am not seeing I'm not seeing anybody. I really don't know who's coming, who's not coming, who's sitting, who's not sitting. I really don't know. Somebody sometimes will come and sit in front of me. So that I accept that too. I'm talking to since I'm talking to myself, it is so. Why the external, shutting out the external contacts is what the aid to keep is an aid to keep concentration. It's an aid to keep concentration. That's what is very important, shutting out external contacts. That is why the Shastra says, in the Sattvic time, do meditation. Why? Because in the Sattvic time, do meditation. Why? Your eyes are open and there is nothing to distract you, nothing to disturb you, and even everybody in the house is also fast. Yeah, fast asleep, nobody to disturb you. Otherwise, they wake up and then something in the kitchen will happen, some mixie will run. Yeah, what do you want? All this disturbances. Shutting out external contacts is the first step. Second is chakshuhu cha eva. Let your eyes be withdrawn from the external world. First is the thoughts. Second is the senses. When they say let the eyes be withdrawn from the external world, it means let all the senses be withdrawn. Let all the senses be withdrawn. And eye is used. Why eye is used? Because of all the senses, eyes are the most powerful. Therefore, when they say the eye, what they mean is shutting out all the five senses. Sir, eyes I can close, ears you can clear. You can have earplugs also and put it. Maybe nose you can put a clip. Clear. Mouth you can bite your teeth and close the mouth, but what to do for the skin, sir? It is not like that. You are in an environment where the environment itself doesn't make the senses to run outward. You are in an environment where the senses, the environment doesn't pull the senses. Now the environment is the senses. As soon as the eyes are open, it is all over. As soon as the ears are, it is all over. Therefore, what does it mean? First is the mind externally. Second is chakshuhu eva, eyes. And when you withdraw the eyes, antar bruvoho, antare bruvoho, may it be directed in the middle of the eyebrow as it were. That's where he says, fixing the gaze as though between the eyebrows. That's what they say the Jnana Chakshu is, and people try literally. As a practice also you can try, because it helps in, as a practice also you can try, it helps in concentration, but more than 10-15 seconds it doesn't. More than 10-15 seconds it will not work, because the thoughts are so powerful, the mind is so powerful that it will go away. But still this training has to be, this practice has to be done, taken. Then comes equalizing the flow of incoming and outgoing breaths in the nostril. Prana, inhalation. Apana, exhalation. Body, mind, intellect kuda is easy to understand. This prana vaangirudhu. Narayanji. This prana is taking Narayanji's pranas out. Body is easy to understand, mind is easy to understand, intellect is easy to understand, but this prana is like Brahman. Yeah, Brahman kuda purinjidrathu. Even we are able to understand this Brahman, but prana we are not able to. What is this prana? Prana, inhalation, apana, exhalation. Nasa abhyantara charinau. Pranapanau samau kritva nasa abhyantara charinau. Nasa abhyantara charinau means be conscious of it for a few minutes. That's what pranayama is. Be conscious of your incoming, outgoing breath for a few minutes. When you are conscious of it for a few minutes, in that conscious breathing, what happens? There is a balanced. When the pranas are balanced, the mind gets balanced in a very limited way. In a very limited way. When the mind is disturbed, the pranas are disturbed. Breathing. That's why they say, when you are really angry, take deep breaths. Out of 10 times, 3 times it will work. 7 times it will not work. And you will get more angry at the practice that you have to take deep breaths. Yeah, that will give you more anger than anything else. Therefore, be conscious of it for a few minutes. I don't know whether you have observed in the rituals, in the Brahmin rituals, the priest will come and ask you to do everything. When he says pranayama, he will stay quiet. Om Bhuhu, and then he will stay quiet. Because other things he can do for you. Pranayama, you have to do it by yourself. And then he'll continue the rituals. And every few minutes in the ritual, there will be a pranayama. Why? Because after a few minutes, the mind gets distracted. Another practice of pranayama brings the awareness back, brings the concentration back. And then before you chant the Gayatri mantra, 10 pranayamas you have to do, and you have to chant Gayatri mantra thrice a day. It means 30 pranayamas you have to do in a day, and then spread over. What will happen? In a day, you are doing 50-60 pranayamas. And it is so spread out, so beautifully, evenly spaced out, that you don't have to sit and specifically cycle to you don't have to keep making sounds like all that. You don't need to do all that. What is needed is nasa abhyantara charinau, meaning keep it, be aware of your breath. When you are aware of your breath, when you are aware of your breath, what happens? It is a temporary aid for concentration. It is a temporary aid for concentration. Now, all this is called a spiritual practice only when you have the goal of self-purification, self-realization. When you don't have the goal of self-purification, self-realization, all these are mere practices which will not help in your transformation of your personality. Just pranayama alone will not bring about a transformation. Just sense control alone will not bring about a transformation. Sense control connected to purification, self-realization. Pranayama connected to purification, realization. Then there will be a transformation. Are you able to follow? See, what happens is there are people by default they have some discipline. You find some people disciplined, no? They are disciplined to a large extent. They are very disciplined. To a large extent, they may be doing all these exercises and all that. But transformation as such will not happen. Why? Because for transformation to happen, there has to be a conscious dedication of these practices to a higher ideal. What is the higher ideal? Relatively, inner purification, self-purification, ultimately, relatively self-purification, ultimately self-realization. So you start with the external. This is as far as verse number 27 is concerned. Now we move on to verse number 28. Yatendriya mano buddhihi. He comes back to his shutting the eyebrows and all that he speaks, and then he comes back to his, and then he immediately comes back to his knowledge. What is it? Yatendriya mano buddhihi vigatecha bhayakrodaha. The disciplines. Having the senses, mind and intellect controlled. Yataha indriyaha manaha buddhihi. All these are controlled. Control means curbing certain aspects of the senses, mind and intellect, which destroys. That's what control means. Because of my limited vocabulary in English, I'm using this word and I'll explain it. Control means curbing certain natural tendencies of the senses, mind and intellect, which are detrimental. Control means controlling certain natural instincts, certain natural tendencies of these instruments, which are self-destructive. And why I said because of my limited English vocabulary is because people say natural means it is correct. No, sir. Why do you have to control that which is natural? Why? Do it. Natural doesn't mean it is the fallacy in thinking. You need to accept, you need to understand this. Natural doesn't mean it is right. Natural doesn't mean it is right. What is natural for the intellect? Natural for the intellect is just gathering more and more and more information without digesting. That is natural for the intellect to do. More and more and more information. Since Swamiji doesn't talk about Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Prashnopanishad and Kathopanishad, I read somewhere else because I have to study. Okay, you study that. And then you say, but I have studied the Upanishads and also, but this Bhagavatam, I have not read it. I have not said. Therefore, go to Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam I have done also. Saptaha Mandala I have done quite a few times, sir, and all that. But now I have to go to Mahabharata. All that is done, sir, but pilgrimage tour I didn't make, no. So I start going. Now, this is weakness at the level of the intellect. Gathering more and more and more information and not digesting anything is the weakness of the intellect. Now, what is control at the level of the intellect means? Restricting the information to certain levels and making sure that what information you have, you digest. Then your intellect is under control. Are you able to follow? Control means some of the natural instincts, natural tendencies of these instruments has to be controlled. And then I gave a law. Understand this law. For your own betterment, understand this law. Natural doesn't mean it is right. Nails grows naturally. Why clip it then? Natural, no. It is natural for the nails to grow. Why can't we just keep the nails growing? That's the argument they give. No. See, hair and beard is natural, sir. Why shave it? Unnatural it is, no? Yeah. எதுக்கு இங்கே வச்சுக்கணும்? எதுக்கு அப்படி வச்சு அட்லீஸ்ட் ஒரு கோட்டியாவது வச்சுக்கலாம். Why? Because it is. So there is a misconception that natural means it is right. Natural doesn't mean it is right. What is natural for the intellect? Acquiring, gathering more and more and more information. You curb that. You restrict yourself to a few. Like he says, Swamiji says in the 3-year course, after careful consideration, 10-11 books are kept to study for the entire 3 years. Of the 150 books, 10 books are chosen. Why? Because the variety of 10 books itself is enough to get the entire knowledge. Are you able to follow? It is to curb the natural weakness of the intellect. What is the weakness of the mind? Mind is a beautiful entity as long as it is kept under control. Mind is destructive if you do not keep it under control. What is the natural tendency of the mind? What is the natural tendency of the mind? If love, sacrifice, gratitude is a natural tendency of the mind, control is not required. If love, gratitude, sacrifices are the natural tendencies of the mind, control is not required. What are the natural tendencies of the mind? Impulsive, to be impulsive, emotional, get emotional under all circumstances, impulsive, emotional, whatsoever it comes in contact with, it will get attached. Yeah. These are all the tendencies of the mind, and this has to be controlled. Not to talk about Ragadvesha. But Ragadvesha, he keeps it as a separate subject. Mind, he keeps it as a separate subject. Ragadvesha, he keeps as a separate subject. Here he is talking about Indriya, Manas and Buddhi control. I'm coming from the intellect control and then the mind control, and then what is senses? What is the natural tendency of the senses? The natural tendency of the senses is to be extrovert, is to go outside. The natural tendencies of the senses is to be extrovert. So identifying these natural instincts, natural tendencies of these instruments which are detrimental, you control them. This is what is known as having the senses, mind and intellect controlled. Having the senses, mind and intellect controlled, you have an indication for that. What are the indications? You will be free from desire, anger, fear. Are you able to follow? The sense organs dwells on sense objects. The mind dwells on emotions. The intellect dwells on worldly knowledge. Control means this. Again, I repeat. The sense objects dwells on, the sense organs dwells on sense objects. The mind dwells on emotions. The intellect dwells on worldly knowledge. Just knowledge, information, more and more and more and more information. Tirelessly digging and digging and digging and digging for information in the calling it as growth of knowledge, growth of, I don't know, whatever you call it as. The end result of all that is what? The end result of all that is what? Fear, anxiety. What is the end result of all this? Fear, anxiety. Free from desire, anger, fear. Are you able to connect now? Free from desire, anger, and fear. Now, we are not discussing desire, fear, anger, because every other week we are talking about that. I am skipping that portion. Yeah. I'm skipping that portion. Habada, relief, sir. Thank you. You understand our fatigue, and you are really a very good teacher, sir, because you understand what we want to hear, and you say what we want to. Yeah. So I'm not getting into that desire, fear, anger, because all along we have been discussing only that. All along we have been discussing only that. Then comes with liberation as the goal, moksha parayana. Moksha parayana. Moksha parayana means with liberation as the goal. By continuous Shravana and Manana, you have heard that you are the self, you are Brahman, you are ever free, you are Nitya, Muktaha. You have heard all that through Shravana and Manana. Moksha Parayanaha means what you have heard and understood, you want the Anubhava of it. You want the experience of it. You are not satisfied with a mere intellectual conviction, but you want to experience that. And if you want to experience that, means you must deserve it. I want to experience Nale Vandrad. You should deserve it. And how would you deserve it? Senses. How would you deserve it? Senses, mind, intellect under control. But sir, கேட்டதையே கேட்டிருந்தா தூக்கம் வந்துடுறது. If I keep listening to the same thing, I keep falling off to sleep. That's why you can't see the same movie again and again and again. How can you see the same movie again and again and again? You have to see different movies. And all movies' climax is the same. Yeah, all movies are the same. What are the same? The self-controlled one will poor, the poor self-controlled hero will be suffering, and the villain will be an indulgent rich. Have you ever seen a poor villain? Heroes are always poor and villains are always hero will drive an auto, villain will get introduced in the private jet. No, villain will come and get down in a private jet, 20 guards, guns and everything. You feel like, oh my God, better to be that villain and just get a few beatings here and there and die, rather than being a hero. The senses, the mind, the intellect under control. The senses, the mind, the intellect is the control. This practices makes you deserve. Whoever hears all this, they immediately want to experience it. Whoever hears all these Vedantic discourses and you are Brahman and you are ever free, you will be free from desire, anger, fear, anxiety, stress, whatever happens will not disturb you, affect you. When you hear all these, the natural tendency is to immediately experience it. You understand? To experience it, you have to deserve that experience. And how would you deserve that experience? Mind, senses, mind, intellect under control. What is implied here is, whenever they talk about the senses, the mind, the intellect under control, pranas is also included in that, and pranas get controlled by itself. Pranas gets controlled by itself, and if you really want to do, you can do pranayama exercises also. He is not saying don't do it. You can do that also. Parayana means absorbed in. Parayana means absorbed in. Parayana means internalization. That's what the word parayana means. The Sanskrit rules and all that, parayanam, we talk about it. Parayana. Generally, they talk about Veda Parayanam. No? What does it mean? Absorbed in Vedas. Internalizing the Vedas. Now, what does it mean when you internalize the Vedas? Absorbed in Vedas. A person who is absorbed in Vedas, a person who has internalized Vedas will ask for what? What will be his ideal in life? Moksha, liberation. Moksha parayanaha. Moksha parayanaha. You will be absorbed not because it is nalla irukudhu sir kekkuradhukku. This Veda Shabda is so enchanting, is so enticing, and especially after the guys goes through this 13-15 years of practice. After this 13-15 years of practice, if you see them chanting the Vedas, it is like so enchanting it is. But you don't go and sit there because it is enchanting. You don't do that. You go and do it. I'm not asking any one of you to go there, please. I'm not even suggesting that. I'm only giving that as an example because all these words are connected to Vedas. That's why I'm using these words. A person who is absorbed in Vedas means a person who has internalized the Vedic knowledge. What is internalizing the Vedic knowledge? Mundakopanishad, 9 mantras. It will talk about the glory of the rituals, glory of the desired and actions and all that. 10th verse, he says, fools will do all that. 9 verses glorifying it. 10th, 11th, 12th verses, demolishing it. And then comes the beautiful mantra. Parikshya lokan karmachitan brahmano. Mundakopanishad mantra. Parikshya lokan karmachitan brahmano. Parikshya lokan. Parikshya lokan means the person has examined the world. Pariksha means? Exam ku Tamil vaartha enna? Pariksha. Sanskrit word it is. Parikshya lokan. Having examined the world, having gone through the tests that life offers to him, he has understood what? Having gone through the test that life has given him, he has understood what? The senses, this mind, this intellect running behind the world, all this is karmachitan. Parikshya lokan karmachitan. Karmachitan means actions. He has examined the world, he has examined the actions, and then he is moksha parayanaha. Then he reaches the stage of moksha parayanaha. Our examination of the world is for what? Our examination of the world is how to make the world, how to control the world so that, how to control the world, manipulate the world, modify the world to suit. I have to suit it to my, comforts. Are you able to follow? Moksha parayanaha. How does the one achieves the moksha parayanaha? Remember the Mundakopanishad verse. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedam. And then that person goes to a samitpani. With that, carrying that samit, he reaches the guru who is Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Extraordinary mantra. Where he talks about you examine all this, having understood what it offers and what you seek. This is called pariksha, examining. What is it that you are seeking and what is it the world is offering? This is examination. Again, I repeat, what does examination means? What is it that you are seeking and what is it the world is offering? Number one. Number two, what is it that you are seeking? What is it the world is always capable of offering? What is it that you are seeking? What is the world offering? What is what the world is capable of offering? Always. Adha pariksha lokan karmachitan. This is called pariksha lokan. We don't do that. We believe that previous generation didn't know how to have a better life. We are having a better life. And my daughter looks at me and says, you don't know how to have a better life. She thinks she is having a better life. Her children, her grandchildren also will say the same thing. So what is the world offering now? What is the world capable of offering at all times? Are you able to follow? What is it that you are seeking? You are seeking permanency. What the world can offer? All that the world offers is temporary. Mix that is why the wise one doesn't go behind the world at all, because what is it that you are seeking, and what the world is capable of offering. Are you able to follow? There used to be a motorcycle. That motorcycle ne solla mudiyadhu illaya. There used to be one thing called TVS 50, no? There used to be a motorcycle called TVS 50. You know what the TVS 50 is capable of. So you will not. Mr. R.D. Prasad mari best driver arunda kuda, that Mr. R.D. Prasad will not take the TVS 50 and go on all India tour, no? TVS 50 illa. Ingirundu Chengalpattu poradhukulle the vehicle will. Yeah. 3 months you have to rectify it, and then you can another. Why? You know what you are seeking, and you know what it is capable of. This is called Pariksha Lokan. A person who has done this study, and inquiry will have moksha parayanaha. And that person who has this moksha parayanaha will have the senses, mind, intellect under control. He can sit and try all this, the eyebrows, the fixing the gaze between the two eyebrows, pranayama, and all that. Who should do all this? A person who has done this pariksha. If you have not done this pariksha, what you do? Go back and do Shravana Manana. Do this pariksha. Without doing this pariksha, straight away the person wants to do meditation and electrifying. Body will get electrified. That's meditation. When there is a plug, you put your fingers inside that, you get electrified. No. Why do you have to go for meditation class to get that electrifying experience and all that? Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. Remember that mantra always from Mundaka Upanishad. Veda Moksha Parayanaha means absorbed in Vedic knowledge, assimilated in Vedic knowledge means this. What happens to this person? Sada Mukta Eva Saha. Verily liberated forever. Verily liberated forever. So beautiful verses. He's starting from shutting out external contacts to verily liberated forever. The procedural details for meditation. Sada Muktaha Saha Eva. Sada Muktaha. Verily liberated. Liberated forever. Do this pariksha all the time. That's all Shravana Manana is to. Shravana Manana Karma Yoga is to aid this pariksha. What is the pariksha? What is it that you are seeking? What is it that the world is capable of? Okay, how much ever you modify the world, how much ever you go to Brahmaloka, Swargaloka, that is where the different lokas they have experienced. Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. Are you able to follow? They have examined the very many lokas. Very many lokas means, okay, you go to Gandharva Loka, you go to Swarga Loka, you go to Indra Loka, you go to Pitru Loka, you go to Brahma Loka. All these are Pariksha Lokan. It means what? How much ever you make the world better and better and better and better and better, the best is Brahmaloka, even then nothing happens. Why? Because Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Again birth, again death. Again birth, again death. Not only it is just the again birth, again death, no conviction upon what you are seeking and what the world is capable of. That's all. Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. Mundakopanishad mantra, that is. It comes in part 1, section 2. Part 1, section 2. Very famous mantra. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Such a person, Parikshalokan Karmachitan Brahmana, Samitpanihi, he goes to a guru who is Shrotriyam and Brahmanishtam. And that person teaches him the knowledge. What is the knowledge? Shankaracharya went to his guru and the guru asked him, who are you? Shankaracharya went to the guru and guru asked him, who are you? First question, no, you'll ask, no, who are you? And what did Shankaracharya say to the guru when guru asked him, who are you? Aham bhojanam naiva bhoktam na bhojyam chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham. This person will be liberated forever. This is verses 27 and 28. 29 padinga. One second. Yes. Karmachitan means examining the results of your actions. Examining the world, examining your actions. Examining your action means examining the intentions of your actions and examining your attitude towards the result of your actions. Are you able to follow? This is Karmachita. All this we have seen in Karma Yoga, Yajna Karma, we have seen all this. That's why I didn't elaborate all this. Okay? Venkat. I have to convince Panitan.
Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam Nyatva mam shanti pritchati Bhoktaram yajna tapasam Sarvaloka maheshwaram Suhridam sarva bhutanam Nyatva mam shanti pritchati.
Having known me as the enjoyer of sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all worlds, the friend of all beings, he attains peace. Having known me as the enjoyer of sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all worlds, the friend of all beings, he attains peace. He's talking about the Jnani now. Jnani means the enlightened one. Having known me as the enjoyer of sacrifices and austerities. Wherever there is yajna and tapas. Wherever there is yajna and tapas, who is the benefactor? Wherever yajna happens, wherever tapas happens, who is the benefactor? He says, I am the benefactor. Having known me as the enjoyer of all tapas and austerities. This is cheating. Huh? You do the work, he derives the benefits. That's what he's saying. The enjoyer, having known me as the enjoyer of sacrifices and austerities. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. A very famous quotation from Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. Bhoktaram means the enjoyer. Enjoyer of what? Bhokta means enjoyer. Enjoyer of what? Yajna and tapas. Yajna, we know what yajna is. I'm not getting into what yajna is. Tapas, we know. What is tapas? Yajna is a higher ideal. Tapas is conserving and directing the energies to achieve that ideal. When you do thus, when anybody does it like this, what happens? They attain the highest, which is me. Me meaning the self. Knowing me as the Supreme Lord of all, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, na poetically understand it as 14 lokas. Poetically it is, don't take it literally. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Ishvara is Lord. Maheshwara is Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord of all the 14 worlds. Why Supreme Lord? Because every loka has their own local Lord. Yeah. Or loka or local Lord undu. Yeah. Or counselor. Yeah. Or area counselor. Abrama. Abrama yaar? Manohar. Our than politician in there. Yeah. Counselor. Abram. And then comes the Prime Minister. Imagine a permanent Prime Minister, no elections, no nothing. Yeah, that's Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. There are local lords everywhere, but he is there are local Ishwaras, but then he is the Maheshwara, Supreme Lord. Loka means experience. Lord of all experiences. Consciousness is the Lord of all experiences. Loka means experiences. Philosophically, Loka means experiences. Swarga Loka, one type of experience. Naraka Loka, another type of experience. World, Mishram, mixture of both. So Loka means experience. The Lord of all experiences. Who is the Lord of all experiences? Consciousness is the Lord of all experiences. Consciousness is the Lord of all experiences. Then comes Suhrutam. Suhrutam Sarvabhutanam. Friend of Suhrutam means Suhrutam. The Sanskrit word Suhrutam means the well-wisher, friend. Suhrutam Sarvabhutanam. Suhrutam means one who wishes well and does well. It's not only wishing well. Have you ever noticed when you are really in a difficulty crisis, the first set of people that will come is the friends. Aparna, all others will come. So who is a friend? One who wishes well and does actions for the wellness. It's not just wishing well. Suhrutam means Suhrutam has to wishing and doing. Wishing and doing is Suhrutam. Kritam, krita, kru, doing. All comes from the same root. So Suhrutam means wishing and doing what? Wishing and doing actions for the welfare. Wishing and doing things for the welfare. Well-wisher of all beings, the support of all living beings. Well-wisher means what? Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. You can't say, I am a well-wisher and have hatred also. Both will not. Both doesn't go together. Friend means one who has no hatred. One who doesn't have any hatred. Not only that, he is all the time stretching himself to do good to the others. He stretches himself and do good to the others. This quality is what in English is known as friend. Who is a friend? Whoever has this attribute becomes a friend. Yeah. He is not using the word mitra. He is using the word suhrutam. The Sanskrit word mitra means friend. He is not using the word mitra here. He is using the word suhrutam. From the word suhrutam, the implied meaning is friend. The implied meaning is friend. Therefore, having known me as the enjoyer of austerities and yajna, sacrifices. What does it mean? See, the more you direct your energies, towards an ideal, and the more you practice sacrifice and austerity to achieve it, the more peace and happiness you command. Are you able to follow? That's what it means. Thus, by attuning to the self, you gradually come to enjoy more happiness. You gradually come to enjoy more and more and more happiness. Therefore, self is considered to be the enjoyer of austerity and tapas. Enjoyer, don't take it as you enjoying something. It's poetry. Stretch your thinking to accommodate the poetry here. Selfish, self-centered activities produces sorrow, agitations. Reverse. Wherever you are agitated and sorrow, whenever you go through sorrow, whenever you go through mental agitations, you have turned selfish. Correct? Yajna and tapas and working for a higher ideal makes you peaceful. You means the true peace resides in the self. In that sense, self is the enjoyer of yajna and tapas. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. Sarvaloka maheshwaram. Lokas means the experiences. The experiences is of that which is the Lord of experience is known as consciousness. What are the experiences? The three states of consciousness: waking, dream, deep sleep. Waking, dream, deep sleep. The three states of consciousness, which is the waking, dream, deep sleep. The Lord consciousness is that which makes you go through the three states. Not only it makes these three states possible, the three states are dependent on the Lord. The Lord is not dependent on The three states. The three states is dependent on the Lord. The Lord is not dependent on the three states. In that sense, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhrudam Sarvabhutanam. Sanskritla correcta padikumbodhu Sarvabhutanam Suhrudam nu varum. Sarvabhutanam Suhrudam. Wisher and doer of good to all beings. What is doing good to all beings? If at all you want to do good to others, don't get attached to anybody. That is doing good. Sugritam. What is doing Sugritam? If at all you want to really do good to anybody, if you want to destroy somebody, get attached. If you want to help that person, get detached. That's Sugritam. Are you able to follow? So simple it is, and yet it is missed. So simple it is, and yet it is missed. So what is Sugritam? You wish the welfare of everybody. What is wishing the welfare of everybody and doing good to others? It doesn't mean you do charity. It doesn't mean you go and help them when it's not all that. Philosophically, what is doing Sugritam means reality. Truly, what is doing good to others means do not get attached. Do not get attached. Do not ask. Do not get attached. Do not ask. Do not demand. When you are not attached, when you are not asking, demanding, by default, you will end up serving. By default, you will end up giving, serving. This is Suhridam. Suhridam, not to start one social service organization or go and start people doing social service and become part of that. That is not being Suhridam. What is Suhridam? You want to agitate somebody. You want to torture somebody. Get attached. You love somebody. Truly, you will get. Have you ever connected love and detachment? If you really want to love somebody, the real love is by you getting detached. In that sense, Sugritam, Sarvabhutana, he attains Shanti. He attains Shanti. He attains peace. Bhoktaram Yajnatabasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Sugridam Sarvabhutanam Jnatva Mam Shanti Mrichati. He attains peace. With this, we conclude verse number 29. 29 mattum mudikala. We are concluding chapter 5. And then next session, we move on to chapter 6. One of the beautiful chapters, Karma Sannyasa. From Karma Yoga to Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga to Karma Sannyasa and then Dhyana meditation. The 4 beautiful chapters, the sequence. From Karma Yoga to Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And then from Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, it is Karma Sannyasa. And from Karma Sannyasa, it is Dhyana Yoga, chapter 6, which we will continue from next week. Yes. Yes, ma. Cholungo. Chandralekha.
Yes, sir. Ninga pa chonne the Sukhurdam philosophically means do not get attached, ask and
do not get attached, do not ask, do not demand.
Thank you, sir.
This is doing Sukhurdam. Do not get attached, do not ask anything from, do not ask, do not demand. Because a giver is one who does Sukhurdam. Rain is a giver. That's why rain is Sukhurdam, because rain is a giver. So a giver means one who doesn't demand, ask. With this, we conclude for today. Next session, we continue with chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation.